All right, let's see now. I can't believe he wants us to record, and he takes vacation. I mean, really? How am I supposed to record? He won't call into Skype. Yeah, it's fluxing. Okay, yeah. It's the only idea I got. I don't know. We can't do the show without the B-Man, right? I mean, he complained when I did one before. 1.21 gigawatts. Okay, we're up to power. Okay, here goes. Throw on the switch. Will it work? Here he comes. It's B-Man of the past, everybody. It's B-Man of the past.
Yeah, that was dumb. That
was dumb?
That was a terrible opening. I liked the Back to the Future, but no. Don't do that.
Welcome to the Old Titans. This is John Paul, and is the B-Man of the past?
No, it is the one and only B-Man. There's only one B-Man. No B-Man of the past.
No B-Man of the past.
No.
I kind of like the idea.
Do you?
I kind of thought it was kind of
the
fun.
ultimate. Nah, I'm glad you did, John Paul. That's why you need me here to make sure the show stays interesting and not boring. You are the Bran Stark of podcasts.
So I'll make you sick every time I appear?
Yes, I want to just poke my eyes out with my own fingers.
I'd rather be like the Ned Stark, except for the beheading part. I'd rather consider myself like the Ned Stark of.
You're the catalyst of why everything goes to hell, or is that what it is? Or?
I was thinking like the patriarch, the good man, all that. Well, all right. So we're back.
Yes. Bran Stark.
We're recording this several days before it was posted because, well, the B-Man is going to be taking vacation, and, well, I thought I'd be clever and pretend this was actually next week.
In a long time.
I get it.
I deserve it.
All right. So we're going to start off with the B-Man question of the week.
All right. You mentioned Ned Stark, that kind of stuff. You know, you are Bran Stark. We'll go with that another time.
All right.
Game of Thrones coming to an end next season.
Actually, in a real world, especially if we're in an apocalyptic world or anything else like that, gender aside, I'd want to be Arya. But that's beside the point.
Okay, a little girl.
Who has the biggest, head count going on right now?
Right, that's definitely her.
I'd
rather have the dragons, personally.
Okay. I was thinking of just Starks. But,
no, that's cool.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay.
I do think
Continue on.
Yes, Game of Thrones going away. Another season, that's all we got left.
Right. Is it?
Sad to
does
see
it come out next summer?
I don't even know.
I'm not sure. Okay.
Sometime
Sometime next year.
Okay, well, that's whatever it is, it's going away. Just say, for argument's sake, you're in charge of a cable network, not like
HBO.
Yeah, like HBO, Cinemax, one of those. They come to you and say, we need another book series. It's going to be a huge, epic hit, like Game of Thrones. What is your pick?
What is my pick?
Yes.
All right. It has to be epic.
Epic.
Coming from a book.
Yes.
A book or series of books.
A series of books, yes.
Has to be epic.
Now, obviously, you can change some things for, TV based.
Yeah, it's rare that anything's going to translate word for word.
Right.
It shouldn't. Alan Moore has a point. If you're writing for one medium, you're writing for that medium.
Oh,
you need to write.
Right, yeah.
You need to write for the medium that's going for. So changes that are just for that, I'm okay with. All right. So I thought about it since last time. I came up with 6 different series that I'd love to watch. Now, this is not ones I'm going to recommend. This is just 6 I'd love to watch. And I was like, okay, first let me come up with the list I want to watch. And then once I know which ones I want to watch, then I need to pick which one I think would make the most sense. If I was, as you said, the network executive who's making the decision. Tell me if any of these names jump out at you as we get to them.
Okay.
The Myth Adventures of Stephen Oz. Do you know the Myth Adventures books?
No.
Okay. More of a comedy series than anything else. It would probably be a series of half-hour episodes. This book series went, I don't know, dozen, 15, 16 books, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
It was based on Bing Crosby and Bob Hope's Road Pictures. Not based in that setting, but based on that kind of feel, where you had the 2 characters traveling around. You could say Evan Costello, you could say Laurel and Hardy, you could say whatever. It's a classic comedy duo traveling in a fantasy world. One of them's a demon, one of them's human, and they pseudo fight the bad guys. I say pseudo fight the bad guys because, well, it's usually a whole lot of scamming and trickery and other stuff, but it's fun. That would probably be better to be on like Nickelodeon or something like that. It's very family friendly for the most part. Ethshar. I love the Ethshar series. He had Misenchanted Sword, Blood of a Dragon, things like that. Strike a chord?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Oh, for two.
That's one where the writer created this large world, and every one of his books were completely separate from the others, with a couple of exceptions, that were just set in this world that was fully fleshed out in a cool world. You could set a series that's a brand new set of stories in this world, and you could occasionally have characters from the other books pop in or out to make fans of the books, these small number that are out there, happy, but you could create a brand new story. So that's one that actually could work fairly well. But the entire point of this one, everything had a little bit of a quirk. Misenchanted Sword, there was a soldier, middle of a big war, he's caught on the wrong side of the lines, comes across a magician who's trying to just be a hermit out in the middle and be left alone. He finally convinces the soldier to leave if he will produce for him a magic sword that'll help him get back to his unit. So he sits there and casts a big magic spell. Poof, you got a magic sword. This sword will help you get back to your unit. Go away, leave me alone. He made a mistake. It was dark, it was late at night. Oops, he made a mistake. And the sword, when he pulls it from its sheath, it works. Nobody can beat him. Problem is, he cannot actually let go of the sword or put it down until he has killed someone, once he removes it from the sheath. And once he has killed someone, it dies. It becomes useless. If you're fighting multiple people, it's kind of hard to resheath and unsheath your sword in the middle of that.
Right.
And what if you accidentally pull it out to show it to somebody who's a friend? That's a bad idea. So there was a whole long series. Every one of his books has those kind of quirks in it. Straight fantasy story except for the quirk. So I don't know if they could do a whole series around the quirks.
Probably not.
It'd be difficult. The Time Wars. I love the Time Wars series where every season can be set in a different time period, and you have soldiers from the future using other technology. And this would at least get you away from the straight fantasy thing, which everything up to now has been fantasy. That could be kind of cool, going to a sci-fi thing. I don't know.
Okay.
There's an idea. My favorite fantasy series of all time has always been Raymond Feist's Rift War Saga. That's one I think you know.
Yes.
All right. My only problem with them filming that one is, well, one or two things. HBO or any of those would want adult content in there. You'd want to have somebody topless or something every episode. It just happens. Well, Rift War, at least, while there are adults, and adults do adult things in this world too, in the story they don't, on screen or on the page, and you start by following young kids at about 11 years old or 12 years old or something as they grow up. So at the beginning, it definitely wouldn't be appropriate. And I'm afraid it would be compared too much to Game of Thrones, and people would look at it unfavorably. But I think it'd be a fantastic series. I don't know. Did you actually read the Rift War ones? I know you're familiar.
I read the first one, and I thought the first one was the Pug, right?
Yeah.
The Pug was the main character.
Yep.
The Apprentice, I think it was called.
Yeah, Magician Apprentice.
Yeah. Okay. I dug it. Actually, I made a character. We used to play D&D a lot. I always made a character off Rutha.
Yeah.
My favorite character in any book. She was a really cool character, Rutha.
Yeah, he's one of the main characters for the first probably 4 books.
Yeah, he was a really cool character. And I always made a character based off of him with the same name. So yeah, that's a good one. But again, you're right. I think they would want more adult content.
Yeah. So what I came down to is one of 2 series.
Okay.
I know which one I would probably pick if I was, again, that executive person, but either one would work. Either one would be good. They're both from Brandon Sanderson. We talked about them in many episodes ago. He's written 2 series. One is the Mistborn series, and one is the Stormlight Archive.
And finish the Wheel of Time as well.
He finished the Wheel of Time.
Yes.
But these 2 series are the ones I'd recommend most. The Stormlight Archive is more of a straight fantasy, and it's not a pure fantasy in any stretch, but it would feel like to somebody who doesn't read fantasy all the time, more of a straight fantasy type story. The characters are so well developed, and it's such a large epic story, Lord of the Rings style epic story, Wheel of Time epic, and it could go for a lot of years because of that. Mistborn is a little bit more steampunk feel, with some cool Matrix style fight scenes and such in it. That's the one I think would sell best. So my guess is I would probably pick Mistborn. There were 3 original books. Then there's going to be 4. There's 3 already. There will be 4 books in Era 2. A couple of short stories around that. So you got a lot of material to already pull from. Again, as the executive, you're going to be unhappy that you can't have the nude scene of the week in it. I think it's kind of dumb that they do that.
Every single week.
Almost every single week.
I
Almost.
wouldn't say that. I can't.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't think of the last couple seasons actually have any naked scenes.
well, they've had something somewhere, but
I-
either way.
Okay.
But if they can get over that, if they can just go with, let's just make a quality story. If it fits, great. If it doesn't fit, fine. Then Mistborn is what I'd do first. And then once you're separated enough from Game of Thrones, then do Stormlight Archive. Plus, that'll let him write more books, because he's only written 2 books so far. Third one coming out this year. There are 5 books on the main story, with another 5 books to follow. Let him get a little further into it.
Okay.
There's my answer, long as it was.
Yeah, well, you always do the long answers.
Yeah, it's interesting answers, though.
Well, mine's the good answer. I mean, you've heard of R.A. Salvatore.
Yes.
Created the Drizzt series, Forgotten Realms.
Mhm.
Drizzt is actually, I think, one of the most famous Forgotten Realms characters or Dragonlance characters ever.
He's definitely the most famous dark elf in history.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay.
That works. He actually also wrote, I think what happened was Icewind Dale trilogy and that kind of stuff
Yeah.
with Drizzt.
You know,
It
all
did
the,
feel
all the
like at
Forgotten Realms
times-
stuff.
yeah.
He was really one of the main people.
It did feel like he'd have a lot of control of what happened to these characters. I don't know if it was personal or what, but there's a few times he tried to kill them off and they came back.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that was just him way of saying, "Oh, this person's back," but you kill off a few characters and you expect them to come back,
Yeah,
and it loses its impact.
yeah, it does.
And I hated that about that. Another story was great. He had the spin-off, not really a spin-off of that, but he went over to, I guess, his own private thing, and wrote The Demon Awakens and the Demon Wars
All right.
trilogy. And then it spun off another book, separate book, and then another trilogy after that. 7 books total. And they were great, man. I mean, he no problem killing off main characters, like Game of Thrones type style.
So that's the one you'd go with there.
Yeah, it was...
Salvatore Demon Wars. That would be a big enough name. It also would really interest all the fantasy
You
readers.
get the
and such.
fantasy readers in there. I am afraid that, again, because it's fantasy, people would always compare it to Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'd be that epic as far as Game of Thrones has like 30 different storylines going on at once. Not anymore, but when it first started, it had so many different storylines. This one doesn't. This one has pretty much, bad guys coming, and a couple of small things going on, but yeah.
That's the reason I went more the Mistborn direction, because you get that steampunk feel. You immediately just visually didn't think Game of Thrones.
And I guess that's probably what I have to ask is, would you need multiple storylines at once?
I don't think you do. You need to have multiple characters to really flesh them out, but they don't have to be that completely separate. There's multiple characters in every one of the books I mentioned. The Raymond Feist twins did have multiple storylines going on at once.
That's true.
Not as extreme as what George R. R. Martin has done. But Mistborn, you've got a crew of 5 or 6 or 7 people, several different storylines, but they all blend together really well. It's very much, the very first Mistborn book is very much Ocean's 11, set in a fantasy steampunk type world. It is epic because it's pretty much end of the world type stuff. Yeah, end of the world is kind of epic.
Yeah, I'd say.
But visually, you would get away from that. But yeah, it doesn't have multiple. So if the these aren't Drizzt, but if the Demon, you said Demon Wars?
Yeah, Demon Wars.
If the Demon Wars don't have lots of different storylines, if they just got a couple of characters who kind of all blend
They
back
have a
and
few
forth.
storylines, but not nearly as much as Game of Thrones had.
I don't think it's, in fact, it's probably better. People probably would react positively to that, because that's one of the big complaints on Game of Thrones, not just from us, but from everybody, is
Well, that was
they
a
lose
good
track
point.
of what's going on.
I did it. Oftentimes I lost track of it. But other than that, I loved it. And there's no Bran stock in this.
Yeah.
So again, that's a big, big plus.
Yeah, Walking Dead has that problem at times of so many storylines going on that you forget about it.
That is the thing about, and I was thinking this actually at the beginning of this. To be successful, a successful epic like Game of Thrones or Walking
Yeah.
Dead, nobody can be safe. I think that is honestly the truth. To have a successful, with a lot of wars going on, nobody can be safe. And I think that's actually why Walking Dead is actually losing a lot of its fans. Is because, okay, no, it's no longer nobody can be safe. It's no main character, no secondary character can be safe.
Right.
The main characters is still fine.
It's very much, if you're part of the bridge crew of the Star Trek Enterprise or Starship Enterprise, you're safe. If you're a red shirt,
Yeah.
any red shirt can go.
You go down to Endor, Han and Chewie, they're fine, but the rest of those guys are in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what Walking Dead feels like now. It lost its shock value of this. Any character can go anytime.
I think if the
That'll
writing
change,
if
but-
the writing is good enough, I don't think it'll matter. But you do have to be better on your writing.
You have to be better on your writing, but I do think the whole shock is like when Walking Dead first started, or even Game of Thrones right now. you'd feel like you had to watch it. You can't DVR it. You had to watch it when it happens.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't go to Facebook, can't go to any of that
Right.
social media stuff. People are going to ruin it for you. There's going to be some shock event happens.
Yep.
It feels like Walking Dead lost a lot of that. It doesn't feel like Game of Thrones ever did. And right now, Game of Thrones having an ending so close, you know things are going to happen now.
Yeah.
So again, I think you need that whole be on edge of your seat.
Yeah.
I love this character, but this character might not be there next week. And you need that. Demon Wars kind of has that, but not to the extent. But I think it could be successful.
I think both Raymond Feist and Brandon Sanderson have that to some degree, but only to a point. Both of them write typically happy ending stories.
Right.
You know, you go watch any superhero movie today, okay, somebody somewhere could die, but at the end of the day, you know the good guy's going to beat the bad guy happily ever after. No matter what other stuff happens in the middle, there's going to be a happily ever after. Sanderson and Feist both give you a happily ever after by the end of the story for most of the characters. But I know that for Feist's characters, I said it started with a group of kids. You know, some of them started as jerks. They become best friends later. You know, they do those kind of twists. Some of them that you think are critical die, some off screen, some on screen. I mean, you do get some of that. Mistborn is a little bit more Star Wars-like. I mean, Star Wars, you had some people who died. I mean, Obi-Wan in the very first movie died. But you still thought of Star Wars as a positive
Right.
overall story. That's more of a Mistborn. Mistborn probably parallels Star Wars in general, a positive story with a couple of key deaths that progress the story.
I think the Wheel of Time would be great, but I think you said it's still in the works. I heard that being in the works years ago.
Years ago, they looked at trying to do it, and then somewhere about a couple years ago, maybe, at midnight, someone, I forgot what network it was on, but they released a little 6-minute short for the Wheel of Time. Didn't announce it, didn't tell anybody they were doing it, and just boom, there it was. Everybody got really excited, and it turns out that was kind of unauthorized or something. I don't know, something weird about it. But since, over the course of the last 12 months, the rights were picked up, and it is actively being worked on because they see Game of Thrones coming to an end. And I don't know where it's being worked on. I don't know if this is being done on ABC, Lifetime, the We Hate Men channel. That's what Lifetime sometimes
It wouldn't
feels
be on
like.
that channel.
Probably not. Actually, Lifetime has a few good movies on it, but that's sometimes a lot of the movies feel like
Is it Twilight?
that. No, usually the romantic comedies, the When Harry Met Sally's, things like that. I love When Harry Met Sally. It's a great movie.
No, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I was just saying. But I don't know what network it's on, in other words. But it supposedly is actually really
That's
coming
one
this
of those
time.
ones I'll believe when I see it. Just the fact I heard it coming so many times. I know back in the day, speaking of Salvatore, Forgotten Realm was picked up a long time ago.
Yeah,
That's before I moved to Florida.
yeah.
Obviously, that's been going nowhere. So again,
The Dungeons and Dragons franchise has been a hard one for them to do anything with because I always want to call it Dungeons and Dragons to get a certain audience.
but I think that eliminates more audience than it gets.
It turns off a lot, and they don't know how to do it right. I think if they were to do, say Forgotten Realms, just call it Forgotten Realms, and tell the Elminster and Drizzt and all those kind of stories, that could work. Pick some of these books that have been successful and just do some of those. Leave off calling it Dungeons and Dragons. Don't hide from the name, but just call it Forgotten Realms to let people who know Dungeons and Dragons know this is my movie, and the ones who don't know Dungeons and Dragons aren't going to care.
I know. That's true. That's
All right.
true. So yes, news.
Yeah, because that only took us 18 minutes of our opening to answer the B-Man question of the week. That's pretty good.
That's right.
That's pretty good. All right, news this week. We got some really cool items. So cool, I'm going to skip doing the sound effects yet again just for you.
Thank you.
All right. First item. We know the Teen Titans, or the Titans, we're not sure which they're going to call it, is coming as a live-action series. Warner Brothers is putting it on their new streaming service they're creating just for this and for the Young Justice, third season Young Justice. For this live action, you're going to have Dick Grayson, you're going to have, Starfire, Raven, all these. They finally cast one of them. They cast Raven. This might give us an idea of whether or not this is going to be Teen Titans or not, because Raven is a 13-year-old. Tegan Croft. Saw some pictures of her on the internet. Physically, visually, I can see her being Raven. Definitely more along the lines of the Teen Titans animated series of the younger, smaller Raven.
And you have to go back and ask this too. Out of all the news episodes we had,
Yes.
and how many, 30-something episodes so far?
We had 35 before this one.
Well, but only 34 actually counted because I wasn't in one of them, and that was
Oh,
just,
okay.
that
All
was
right.
a stupid
Got it.
episode. That was a terrible episode.
There's one though that's a .1, so maybe there are 35.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I wonder how many news episodes you always start with a DC news.
Start with, I don't know. I probably always have a DC thing in there. I don't know if I always start with it. I've had some other cool stuff like Star Wars and other things. we
Yeah,
started
I
with.
know, but you're usually DC oriented. I'm just go ahead. Now go. You go ahead. You go
Well,
ahead.
well, let's try something different then. Let's
Okay.
just go a different direction.
Okay, go a different direction.
Fathom Events. You've been to the movie theater before, right?
Yes.
You've seen the things for Fathom Events.
Never
We're gonna
see
do-
it, but yes.
But when you've seen the commercials
Yes,
for
in
it
the
there.
commercials.
They always have the concerts, the operas, and all those kind of things.
Nothing I want to see, but good.
There's one you're going to want to see.
What's that?
And remember, I'm skipping. I'm getting away from doing DC news.
Okay.
Sort of. Batman and Harley. Batman and Harley's coming straight to
Okay, see,
DVD.
again, I'm getting away from DC News. Let's go Batman. No, see,
No.
you totally missed it. You
They're
got the
going-
figurehead of DC right there.
But they're doing a theatrical release of Batman and Harley Quinn, the animated movie, which is bringing back Kevin Conroy as Batman, Bruce Timm back involved, a new Harley Quinn from Big Bang Theory. You can, if you watch Big
Bernadette,
Bang
I'm
Theory,
guessing?
you can guess exactly who's going to be doing Harley's voice.
That'd be a
there.
good voice,
Be
actually.
a very good voice. And this is supposed to be in the same timeline and original universe. This is not just them coming back as a voice, but this would be considered in canon a part of the original Batman the animated series. So that's kind of cool. Villains are Poison Ivy and Jason Woodrue, the Floronic Man, trying to save the planet, do stuff that kills people, bad guy stuff, you know.
Awesome. More DC News. Good
All
to
right.
hear.
Other Fathom events, though, they're not DC related. Doctor Who. Doctor Who, the 5 Doctors will be on the 17th. The Batman one, by the way, is on the 14th. The 5 Doctors on the 17th. And then next month, September, because we are now in August, so next month is September.
That's
I have to keep reminding myself of that because this year has passed so fast. Next month, we have the 35th anniversary of Wrath of Khan. And it's coming back to the theaters for one night only. That's
Are they
kinda
going?
cool. Maybe, because I've seen it in the theaters since then when we took Martin to UT Austin and they had it in one of the local theaters there on the big screen.
Okay.
But, I mean, Wrath of Khan, I think it'll always go down as the best Star Trek movie
Oh,
ever.
it absolutely was.
It's just so great on the big screen. And then, have you ever heard of Castle of Cagliostro? It's an anime.
Yeah, I heard of that. I haven't watched it, but I heard of
Right,
it. Yes.
so it's part of the Lupin the Third series.
Okay.
They've had a series of movies plus
Yeah.
the TV series itself. Castle of Cagliostro is hands down the best one of all of those. It's going to be also one of the Fathom events in September. So I thought I'd do a little advertising for Fathom events, even though they don't pay us for that. If they want to pay us, I am okay with that. Reach
Yeah.
out to us. You know, all of you millions of listeners out there, let Fathom events know that we're talking about them. All right, and the last bit of news I have that might even lead into a main story.
Look at that.
Might. I mean,
Might.
look how I planned. Do you like the Karate Kid?
I like the original Karate Kid.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
The real Karate Kid.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing against the Jackie Chan one later, Jaden Smith and all that. That's fine. But original Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio, Billy Zabka. That's now 33 years old. It's been a while.
That many years?
It's been a while since that came out.
Okay.
They're doing a sequel
Wow.
as a series on YouTube Red, starring Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka in their original roles. It has been that much time in story as well, and Johnny is down on his luck and is starting back up the Cobra Kai dojo. The title of the series is going to be Cobra Kai, and while Johnny has been down on his luck, Daniel, thank you. For suddenly, all I could think of was LaRusso, and I wanted to say is, since I was saying Johnny, so Daniel LaRusso. Daniel's been doing great, and I don't know if this is going to be a good guy, bad guy thing again, if they're going to become friends throughout this. I have no idea where it's going to go.
If it's called Cobra Kai, I'm guessing it's going to be he's trying to do the right thing.
That's what we hope.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd be like the villains. I mean, yeah, I'd imagine that being.
That could be cool. And they've been touring around the con circuit together, and they seem to be really good friends, have a good rapport, love the audience, and I'm actually looking forward to this. Didn't know about it until earlier today, and looking forward to this. Comes out sometime in 2018. They haven't really given any details yet, but we're a little ways away from there. But that made me think. Last time we mentioned we have not done a Does It Hold Up in a while. So, does it hold up?
Oh God, I wish we didn't do that.
Well, these things have to be
Yeah,
done.
I
You know,
know,
they have
I
to be
know.
done. So, topic of does it hold up? The Karate Kid.
Just the original, right?
Just the original.
Okay.
The original, for which they had to pay DC Comics. See how I slipped that back in there?
Yeah.
For the rights to use the name Karate Kid because of the ever popular character Karate Kid in the Legion of Superheroes.
That nobody cares
Just,
about.
just
That
saying.
nobody cares about.
Hey, at the time, they actually did. At the time, it was one of the bigger selling books.
Man, that's great. How's it doing now?
Right now, it doesn't exist. Well, it exists, but it doesn't have a book right now.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah, it is, but it's coming.
Is it coming?
Yeah.
That's great news.
Saturn Girl's currently locked up in Arkham Asylum because of something that's coming.
Let her stay there.
It'll be okay.
Didn't you also say Karate Kid could take Batman in a fight?
Yeah.
You were that fool, weren't you?
Actually, they had a fight. They had a
Right.
fight in the comics.
Batman won, right?
In the fight
Batman
itself,
won?
in the fight itself, during the
No,
fight,
just who won the
Karate
fight?
Kid was winning and kicking butt until Batman managed to lure him into something because they were in the Batcave, lured him into some kind of a trap, and boom,
So Batman won.
Batman won in the end. Yes,
Okay. No, that's
but in a straight fight, like if they were just
In a straight fight,
hey,
Batman won.
Hey, dude, let's get in the ring and just have a nice little sparring match. Karate Kid wins.
No.
In a sparring match thing
No,
like that.
Never
That's
happened.
just
Never happened.
You know, those things happen. Not everybody always beats Batman. He's
Karate,
had people-
Karate Kid is not one of the guys that can beat Batman.
But back to our topic. Speaking of Karate Kid,
Yes.
so the movie Karate Kid, starring Ralph Macchio, Billy Zabka, Elizabeth Shue, and the great and late Pat Morita.
He was the best part of that movie, by the way.
He was absolutely. I do not think that movie would have
No,
done
not
as
at all.
well if you didn't have Mr. Miyagi. Like
I mean,
that.
he had the perfect combination of he was the comic relief, but also the mentor. It was kind of amazing how he did it, and he played it so well.
And good thing was he already had that kind of image with most of the audience from having been on combination of MASH, Happy Days, other movies and things he'd done. He had a certain image. People liked him, so it helped. You went in already liking the actor, and he did a character that you just fell in
Yeah.
love with. I would say because of him more than anything else, this movie really does hold up. Every scene with him still was just priceless. Came on a week ago. That's part of why I thought of this along with the news story. Came on a week ago. I sat and watched it, and I enjoyed it honestly just as much watching it now as I did back in the original.
I saw it in the theaters back when I was a kid. I didn't enjoy it as much as I saw it.
No,
Just the fact that there is a lot of cheese,
there is
a lot of cheese in that. That just come on, really. But what I will say is the Karate Kid. Part I love about Karate Kid, I don't see any more movies.
Okay.
They had that really good song fight scene combination. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
oh,
Where,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
this great song,
Well, the whole soundtrack was really good on it. But
and
yes, you're right.
Moment of truth and that kind of stuff, and whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it's fighting and just it fires you up. And the end of Karate Kid had the same effect on me that Rocky has on me at times, especially
Yeah.
Rocky 4.
Yeah.
It just it fires you up. So even though part of the movie was cheesy, and I'm like, come on, to me it dragged a little bit too.
Yeah.
Just some parts I thought were boring. I didn't care about Russo that much. I really didn't the second time.
Yeah.
You want to root for him. The first one I was a kid, I was like, oh, he's a good guy. You want to root for him. And then I was like, he's kind of annoying, actually.
He is annoying. He makes the wrong decisions. But I think, whether they intended it or not, I think what came across really well when I watched it, I've watched it I don't know how many times, but more recently, is they did a good job of making him seem like a real teenager.
Yeah, probably.
Because a real teenager in that kind of situation is not always going to act in the perfect way. It's not a black and white good guy, bad guy. There is gray area in between. And even the good guy is sometimes going to make the wrong decisions and do something stupid. Pushes away the girlfriend when he shouldn't because he's embarrassed by the situation or whatever. I think a lot of it was they did a good job of making him seem like a real teenager. Again, how much of that was intentional, how much of it just was a happy accident, I don't know.
And Mr. Miyagi gives him a free car.
Mr. Miyagi gives him a free car. I love that car.
That was a
That
good
was
car.
a great car.
Probably wouldn't happen in real life still. Your landlord probably isn't going to give you a free car.
I don't know, in that kind of situation, exactly like that, it's possible.
No, he wouldn't do it. He would never give
How
you a
about
free
build
car.
you a house or build you a room on
Nope.
his house?
Nope, wouldn't do
You
that
don't
either.
think he would do that?
None of that.
No. How about take you to? Well, of course,
Take him to Japan.
Daniel paid for his own way to Japan or to Okinawa.
And Daniel has bad luck too. Wherever he goes, somebody wants to beat him up.
Yeah,
And I don't know why.
Although he seems to always win in the end.
He does. He does. Although part 2 is a fight for the death. That was a fight for the death.
Yeah.
The guy got it wrong. He honked his nose, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, it worked.
So
I
that's
assume
kinda
that
go-
special effect was okay. Since it fit in.
Yeah, well, that's the noise he made, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And it was just cheesy back then, too. It's a cheesy movie. But again, some cheesy movies are fun.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I loved it. Still love it.
If the cheese fits where you want, I mean, kind of like we said, you always know the good guy's going to be the bad guy in a lot of movies like this.
Right. And you know this is going to happen, yes.
You know the guy's going to get the girl, or the girl's going to get the guy, or whatever. There's certain things you know is going to happen. You're okay with some cheesiness in the movie if it meets your expectations of where the story's going. And I think that's what worked, is the story went where you wanted to go the whole way, even if there were a few moments of, off the beaten path where, it was like, maybe they're not going to get together. Well, they're going to. But, there's a few moments where they're...
I like the trilogy, actually. I mean...
the first one is definitely the best.
Right.
The opening to the second movie is what probably made the second movie so successful theater-wise, because that opening gave you exactly what everybody wanted to see next. What happened in the next few minutes after Daniel won in that first movie?
Yeah, and you felt bad for Johnny a little bit
Oh,
at
yeah.
the beginning of part 2.
Yeah. Plus, it didn't hurt that Johnny even came over and gave the trophy to Daniel at the end of the movie.
Right.
I mean, it showed, they tried to
Well,
show...
yeah, it would never happen. Your arch nemesis beat you up, you took a girlfriend, you're not going to give him a trophy.
I think this was trying to show that the bad guy strictly was the teacher, and that the kids were young enough they could change, they could rehabilitate, and this was Johnny's first step toward being a nicer guy. They continued that thought with those opening few minutes, and then jumped forward to a little bit in the future where Elizabeth Shue decided not to come back, and they've moved on, and they write the story to go to Okinawa, bring in a new love interest, all that. The movie still worked. I love the movie. It would not have been as successful on its own. Like if it was the only movie that existed, it would not be as successful.
But again, the thing about the Karate Kid that I don't like with the trilogy was it was always the same formula. Good guys trying to just get by, that kind of stuff. Bad guy wants to beat him up. Girl comes into play, gets a new girlfriend. All 3 movies had the same formula.
Well, except it wasn't a girlfriend in the third movie. She just was a friend.
Was she though?
Yeah,
kinda...
they kind of addressed that at one point where, is there going to be a romantic thing? Nope. We are just friends. Or she had somebody else. We're going to just be friends. They kind of addressed that. But you're right. And the third one was the least successful movie. It's the one that is kind of painful to still watch. It does not hold up.
Well, part 4. There was part 4, wasn't there? With,
Part
somebody
4
different?
was the next Karate Kid.
And that was, who was that? Oh, man.
Yeah, they went with a female
I forgot her name.
lead. Yes, I know the actress, and she's a good actress.
It was a bad movie, though.
It's just a bad movie.
It's a very bad movie. It's like at school, right? Something like that.
I don't even remember. It was
I
so
can't
long
remember.
ago, and I have not
I
watched
saw it
it
once
again.
and I hated it, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, the remake was much better. The remake was not as good as the original, but the remake was much better
I didn't
than
care for
that.
the remake either.
No. Part of it was Jackie Chan. I love Jackie
I
Chan.
love Jackie Chan, but again, it just, I think at that point, it just took its toll on me.
Yeah.
I was getting done with it.
Yeah. It was kind of neat having it take place in China instead of here in America.
It makes more sense that way, too.
It does. But I really think at the end of the day, when all is said and done, The Karate Kid, unlike some of the movies that we watch years later, I think it holds up. I think you have just as much enjoyment now, not laughing at it, but enjoying it for what it was supposed to be, as you did originally. That's my.
The good news is it didn't need a lot of effects, so that part wasn't bad at all. I agree with you. It holds up.
Yeah.
It's still a solid movie. Is it an A movie? No. But I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a solid B plus. I mean, fun.
Yeah.
Fun
It's
movie.
a fun movie. If you want a fun movie with very little story, that's a good one.
All right, so with that kind of summary, I don't know that there's anything else we can talk about on it. So, since we're winding down here, do we have a B-Man question of the week for next time?
We do.
All
You and
right.
I were talking DC, because John Paul loves talking DC.
I love talking DC. I don't mind talking Marvel either.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're both big Batman fans.
Yes.
And the question is, I think I know your answer, but I'm
Okay.
going to ask anyways, because
All right.
it seems to be people heavily debating both sides.
Yeah.
It's Batman related. If given the opportunity, if he had the opportunity to do it, would Joker ever kill Batman?
Wow, that's a good question.
It is. Because a lot of the villains you pretty much know right away. Lex Luthor kills Superman in a heartbeat. Red Skull kills Captain America in a heartbeat. Or at least well, before whatever. Anyways,
But no, that's a good question. I feel like that's a question that could have been in Mallrats. It's so good. So,
well, thank you. It should be Mallrats.
Yeah.
They should make a sequel just for that one question.
actually, I think he is working on a sequel to Mallrats.
Is he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Then we'll mention my show.
Okay, there we go. All right, so next time, Batman, Joker. Will it ever happen?
Would it happen?
Would it happen if the opportunity existed?
Right.
All right, that's good. So, for John Paul,
B-Man.
we are the Old Titans, and we are out of here.